Welcome to Season 2 of Build and Grow, a series dedicated to helping businesses go beyond financial management to achieve financial growth, resilience, and innovation. As businesses continue to revive and pivot to new models in these times, Your Story is proud to partner with HSBC for another season of inspiring conversations, insights, and observations from some of the newest trendsetters in business and stalwarts of the ecosystem. Tune in to power your next phase of growth and business continuity.
Yeah, I'm very excited and extremely proud to be talking to entrepreneurs right now because they have had a fantastic journey. And by fantastic here, I mean a journey which has been hard, which has been tenacious, and a journey of resilience. And today I'm going to be bringing to you Krishna and Kunal from Cropping Technologies. They started in 2010, and here we are in 2021 celebrating the journey that they have made. And I want to call out some of the numbers that they have digitized over 13 million acres of farmland and enriched the lives of nearly 4 million farmers, in addition to creating a footprint in 52 countries. And that's no small achievement, because we all know reaching out and impacting farmers is sounds very big, but it also requires huge and very, very intense amount of work. And they both have put in that kind of work. And I want to talk to them and ask them, what has it meant? What has the last 10 years been while you've been building Cropit?
We started as you mentioned in 2010, and I always keep saying it was more of a EQ decision than the IQ decision. So I was working with GE, Kunal was with Tata Motors, and we really wanted to build a company which has a larger impact. And we started looking for a sector. If we had to build a company and create an impact, it's going to be which sector? And we felt agriculture is the one because nobody builds technology for that. And we started digging a little bit deep. We were novice, nothing to do with agriculture. And we carried away with the learning that the farmers are taking lives in India, or they're throwing their crops because they're not getting better price. And I think that was the inflection point where we thought, if we really want to create an impact, this is a sector we should choose. We didn't know how much money we are going to make, no Excel sheet. We said there's a large problem existing there and we need to solve it, and it's a complex one, right? So, and we were like young that time. I'm not saying we are old now, but yeah, younger than today. And we thought we'll solve all the challenges in one go. And when we looked into this sector, we felt whether it's a developing nation or whether it's a developed nation, they're not data driven. The decisions are not made data driven. Can we make this industry more data driven? And that was the intriguing point where me and Plus said, let's build a platform. We are good at tech, and if we can build a tech and offer this tech to the people who are trying to impact the life of the farmer, nothing like it. And I think that worked for us in last 10 years.
I have to tell to everyone watching that I met you. I met both of you in 2010. And the vision and the innocence and the passion which you had to make an impact, and what you're telling held true 10 years back, and you've lived every year live with that vision, and it's today showing such remarkable results which the world would consider a success, with all the fundings and everything that you're getting, which is also an endorsement of the hard work that you put in. I just want to ask Kunal, to you also, has the narrative changed in the last 10 years, or is it true, like what I'm saying? Like, has it been the same, or has there been more evolution in the storyline?
Yeah, thanks, Shraddha, for this invitation. I think this is wonderful to talk about our journey. So I think with the changing times, our we have become more passionate because the initial years when we were bringing our solutions, I mean, we were also learning with the times, right? We were not from agriculture field. We never went to farms. Like, no, it was all our ancestors doing that. But as we started getting into the field and really working closely with institutions and their farmers, we started realizing that technology could really bring a larger impact and it could really transform lives at the bottom of the pyramid, right? And as we started growing with thousands of farmers and lakhs of farmers and now millions of farmers, the passion of creating much more value is increasing day by day. And that's what is driving us, like, every single time that, no, this is a problem. Like, no, earlier years in 2010, climate change was never a problem. The problem there was more about digitization, knowing about Where are my farms? How are they growing? Do they need some help and advice? When can I procure it back from them? So the problem statements were different. But in the current times, you see the problems have transformed more into a climate smart
Yeah.
agriculture, these problems and things down that. So I think the challenges are always there. Challenges are also changing with coming times, and our passion is helping drive institutions to solve those challenges, and that keeps inspiring us all the day.
Wow. So basically what you're saying is that the passion has only grown in the last 10 years.
Absolutely.
The tougher it is, the passion also grows with the toughness and the challenges that comes. To both of you, Krishna, Kunal, deconstruct the technology, deconstruct cropping for us, and think that all of us are laymen and we don't understand technology. Tell us what all you're doing.
Yeah, so let me start with this. I said we wanted to make this ecosystem more data driven, right? And we wanted to build a platform which is more data driven by data analytics, and then a layer of AI. Now, when we looked into the industry, we saw that there's no SOP, right? So there is no
Mhm.
software, there is no technology which is visible to the farmers, or even the large enterprise or small enterprise. They don't have a standard soft operating system which allows them to manage their farm relationship, farm data, and keep it in a structured way, because most of these organizations are working in multiple countries. So how do you give a global language to technology? So that was one of the problem statement we wanted to solve. Can we build a crop agnostic and location agnostic? You can't take a niche and say, oh, I'm going to work for very niche crops, and
Mm.
because I'll get paid. But if you look at our journey, we wanted to create a per acre value for the ecosystem. And the moment you restrict yourself to certain crops, you're not able to create that impact. So the first thing was become the crop platform, which is crop agnostic and location agnostic. So whether you are doing a corn, whether doing your fruits and vegetables, whether doing your sugarcane, whether you are doing cocoa, coffee, tea, mango, the platform should allow you to manage those maneuvering from one country to another country, from one climatic zone to other climatic zone, understanding the nature of how you're going to produce. So that was the first thing we wanted to introduce in our platform. Mobility was second, because all the work was happening in a very, very remote areas.
Krishna, before you go to mobility, so what I'm understanding, your first problem statement was that if I am procuring the crop, or if I'm
Mm,
growing and procuring the crop sitting somewhere, I
mm,
don't know what is happening, how it is growing, what
mm,
is the yield going to be like. I don't have visibility to any of those things. Mujhe hai ki after few months, once the crop gets, it comes to me. So, but
yeah.
you were the first who made sure that sitting anywhere in the world, and anywhere right now, I would say maybe in India, let's say, sitting in some big town city, you can have visibility of how it is growing, how it is being nurtured, and what is happening to my
Yeah.
produce, to my
Yeah,
farm.
and you have also getting an ability to influence that quality at the farm at the
Yeah.
right time,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So we built a layer of analytics where we started ingesting data from various other sources like satellite, weather
Hmm.
data, and we started building something very, very unique to that farm. After looking at all the data sets around that farm, one is the coming up from the ground, second is the satellite, weather, sensors, machine, and whatever is generating that data. And we started becoming more predictive. So
Hmm.
we tell the organization that these are your 10% farms which need attention because we can see the stress.
Wow.
Within that farm, these are the portion of the farm which are not doing well. So let's say 1 acre plot, you can subdivide into 10 by 10 meter, and we can tell you about every 10 by 10 meter how it is growing. We can predict the disease which is going to happen in next 10 to 15 days. Rather than you becoming reactive when the disease happens, you are going to put the pesticide to get rid of it. But can a system be more proactive and tell you, we are looking at your condition at your farm, and in next 5 to 10 days, there's a probability of late blight at 85%. Right? That become then I become more cautious looking at those kind of sign in my farm and proactively take that decision to overcome those issues. Right? uh, we can predict the yield of that farm. And I
Hmm.
said we are building a model which is crop agnostic, location agnostic. Recently, we delivered a result in LATAM on sugarcane, and we were like more than 90% in most of the farm accurate. And
Wow.
that's 3 months in advance. We did a prediction of 6 states of Nigeria, where we told
Wow.
which farm has got corn and which farm has got sorghum without even going there. and we estimated the yield and the health not only for that year, current year, but we also gave them information on last 3 years how the pattern had changed. Now that's giving an ability for the government or many other institutions to take policy level decision that where should we intervene, what
Yeah.
is the stress level, right? So we are not just looking, we work for the ecosystem. We are not working just for the farmer or just for the corporate or just for the development agencies or World Bank or government. We are saying this is an ecosystem. If we can create a shared value, everybody wins. And we
Yeah.
can be that analytic platform for you to take those decisions which makes a dent in the speed we want to achieve in agriculture and the
Yeah.
growth. Yeah,
Yeah. And basically, you're making sure by everything, end result, I would say you're making sure there's more food. There's more
exactly.
food on the
Yeah.
plates. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you look at if 1 degree change in the temperature happens, you're going to lose 20% of the production of the major crop. And you can imagine where it will lead us to,
Yeah.
right? No less food on the plate. And we are talking about doubling the food production in another 30 to 40 years, which is not possible. There is no water.
Yeah.
70% water is getting consumed in agriculture, the fresh water, and the water table is depleting. Soil strength is going down, and the climate is unpredictable. Then how do you ensure that doubling from that same acre of land? How can you double the production? Until unless you connect with 580 million farmers who are producing food globally, and out of that, 500 million farmers are smallholders, and you have no clue what they are doing and what help they require. Until unless you have a platform which can connect the dots and help you to understand if I need to double my food production, I need to touch the life of these 500 million farmers, and that can only be done through technology. Whether cropping does it or anybody else does that, but that's the essence of solving this complex challenge.
Wow. When you're saying this, I get goosebumps because this is using technology. This
Yeah,
is technology coming to to meet our basic human needs and our
yeah,
survival needs.
yeah,
I want to ask both of you because these days AI has become, very ubiquitous when we talk about technology, when we
yeah.
talk about businesses. Tell me, how are you leveraging technology and what are you doing?
Oh, we are doing some cutting edge, Shraddha. I mean, we are one of the best AI platform, and you will not. I mean, we are working with deep neurals. We have got trillions of data sets on a platform of the hard work which we have done in last 10 years. And
Wow.
we are training our models to learn about the sunflower, learn about the corn, learn about the cotton, how it changes how the leaf area changes, how the chlorophyll changes. Can you find all the, detect any anomalies? Can you predict the yield? Can you tell me which stage that crop is in? And we are I mean we are also we are building some our own IPs and patents. That in from when there is a rainy season you don't get satellite images.
Mm.
Now we are transfer learning, and using GAN we are generating those optical images from the waves,
Wow.
exactly what you can get into that. And I think nobody has done that, and we are filing a patent. We are going to file a patent for that. We are building our own machine learning architectures which will
Mm.
solve the problem which we see need to be solved. And
Mm.
we are not just using some models to arrive to some, you feed the data, you got training, you got some 70-80% accuracy. No, we are writing our own architectures to solve what we are out to solve. And we have got a great team there. I mean, we started this AI experiments in 2017 with 2 people. I was leading that team. And today we have got 30 people led by Praveen, who is who has 20 years experience in AI and data science. We have PhD guys who has built machine learning and AI framework when TensorFlow was not existing. And that was
Wow.
used in the Europe, Europe universities as a library, and everybody who was trying to do the machine learning used to use that framework. Now TensorFlow has taken over, but those kind of people are behind the technology which we are building, and I'm very proud of them. Yeah,
I can see it. I can sense
yeah,
it, and it's coming out.
yeah,
That brings me to the question, and to both of you. This question is that you are in 52 countries. I think that's the number, right? 52
yeah.
countries. No
It
small
has
feat.
changed. It has changed. Now it is 58 countries, as per yesterday.
It is
Yeah.
58 countries trying to impact 580 million farmers across the world. I want to understand how did this happen? It's not easy. How did you do it?
Yeah, I can share some of the interesting stuff happening in the boardroom and outside boardroom.
Hmm.
when I mean, that it was difficult to find investors in this sector because agtech was not the term coined 3-4 years back, and we wanted to go global. We sensed that there is a market out there. There are the problems are the similar, whether it's a large farmer, smallholder, and what we have built an experiment. What we built a product for India can copy paste it in all part of the world. And we strongly believed into that. So we were having one of the board discussion and we said, we want to go international. I said, where is the money? You don't have money in your bank. I said, it doesn't matter. We have customers who can take us to, we can go and ask them to take us to their other countries where they're operating and create the similar impact. And, we didn't get the sign off because, the moment you open multiple countries, you have to denote certain capital to it. And we didn't have that capital. And so we got a sign up that do the controlled POC, understand what is required, make changes and maneuvering in your product, and then we will raise the capital and we'll go. And I think we did that. And before even we raised the capital, we were in 13 countries with
Wow.
us similar customers. And I think it was more to believe if your product is good and it's delivering value. I don't think it can. You really need to wait for the money to come in. I think the product will speak for itself, and it will find its own way. And I think that happened with the Croken. And we had a great people, they all passionate. We went to more than 20 to 30 countries sitting in India. We didn't
Wow.
even went outside, right? And then we started traveling from India to close the deals in all those markets and making presentation. And today also, I mean, we are a global team. Now we're building a more strength and feet on the ground. And and but I'm saying this was not there when we started our international journey. So I think it's all about the product and the vision you carry, and you sell that vision to the people who are really in this field, and they buy into it, and they give you all the support to come to that country. I think that works.
I'm listening to your
Yeah,
story and I'm feeling proud as if I've gone to all the countries because I've seen
yeah,
you guys without anything and without,
yeah,
any country, right? Even in India
yeah,
when you just started. Uh,
yeah.
Tell me this thing that this journey, but while Krishna, you're saying that the product speaks for itself, right? You had the product, there was a need for it, you found the
Mm,
market, and the more markets kept on calling because there was
mm.
definitely a need for it. But one of the things I want to understand in this journey of being in 58 countries is that did you get some of your initial customers or people whom you were working with, were they also your brand ambassadors in terms of taking you outside
Yes,
because you
I
didn't
think.
have capital?
Yeah, I think we were, initial days we knew that if you want to bring this change, you can't work with the SME or mid segment. You have to go and work with the enterprise because they know how to build a story. They know how to bring the change in their system, right? Because if you start with the SMEs and the mid segment, if they fail, the story goes wrong. So but people said that, Krishna, why don't you go to SME and mid segment because they can pay you quickly.
Hmm.
Enterprise takes time to sign deal. I said, it doesn't matter. We'll go enterprise way because I knew this is a new change. We are making 0 to 1 transition, right? So
Yeah.
nothing exists, and then he was asking them to become suddenly data driven, AI driven, which is a big change to bring. And the good thing was we were very, very focused to get all the top brands. And when we went to the top brands, they were looking for such kind of a solution. They said, this is something we wanted to put in our hands of our people. Let's try it out. And I think that really helped because that time there was no B2B AgTech platform. Everybody was
Yeah.
building something for directly for the farmer to consume. But when you try to solve enterprise problem, it's a very different. It's a mammoth, it's an elephant you're trying to solve. And we solved it. And that I remember when I used to work with one of the large corporate, they brought all their vice president from around 20 countries, and they were having one conference. They said, Krishna, why don't you present here at what we have done in India? And the outcome of that was they invited me to many countries in Latam and others that come and see what we are doing and how can we use your technology. And that was a proud
Wow.
moment for us, right? So,
Yeah.
so they have to become advocate, and I think our decision of going to enterprise really helped. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. That was the focus. I
yeah,
think that was also a decision making because you had
yeah.
immediate money or at least short term quick money coming from
Yeah.
SMEs, but you took the call of going with the enterprise.
I want to call out one of I used to work with Airtel. They have got Fieldfresh, and they had a consultant from UK who was helping them to build this market from India to export outside. I met Sudhir Dhanani, who I think who was advising the board, and he said he met me and he saw my solution,
He said, Krishna, this is a global language. I want to take you to multiple countries. I said, I don't, I know this can be done, but we don't have money to go outside. And he said, don't worry, I'm going to send you tickets. I'm going to arrange for your hotels. And he called me in London, and he introduced me to at least 10 large corporates. He just walked into their room, the MDs and the, the CEOs, and said, here's the guy who's trying to solve the problem. Why don't you have a look? And I really respect that. Somebody saw that, these two guys are trying to build something, and at zero cost, I was in London and I was staying there and then meeting all the people. So I think you need to build relationship. You have to ask for that, and people see that you really want to solve that challenge, and there is always a help, right? So I am not say that everything we did, but a lot of help we got on the way where we are today, and I'm very thankful to those people.
Yeah, and again, Krishna, but one thing that is clearly coming out is that, of course, passion, honesty, earnestness, if it's there and with a good product, solid product, then it works. But what you're also saying is that, you don't need 100 people initially believing in you. You need that one champion,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Again, maybe Kunal, to you, tell us also about the team building that happened, because Krishna said that, very proud you have now 20, 30 AI people in your team. Tell us about the team at Cropin.
Yeah, so I think one of the very important core pillars of our organization's success is the team that is behind it, right? And we take a lot of pride in the people who have come, committed themselves, and delivered to the vision that the organization is carrying, right? And I think team is all about the passion that you can create for the team and the vision that the organization is having, right? So one of the foremost thing that we have in place when we hire someone is that, whether he's aligned to our vision, right? Whether they want to see this transformation and contribute towards creating that, right? So I think that's one of the important cultural aspects when we see of the people when we hire them. And as we are trying to build the best in class technology solutions for the agriculture industry, an industry which was never seeing such technologies, we are also going out for cutting edge members, right? So best of the skills in building these platforms, whether it be our engineering team, whether it be a data science team, our product team, which are actually creating those products, then a fantastic customer success team, because it's also a digital transformation that's happening at the customer's end, and they have to partner together with the customers to help them enjoy the digital transformation and see the benefits out of that. Then we have a fantastic sales team which is actually going and promoting our products, a strong marketing team which is creating that brand awareness, digital agriculture, ag tech, creating that transformation in the industry. So I think it's a whole knit team that we have, which is actually creating their own strengths in creating the larger value that we are having for the organization. So I think it's a chosen few that we have. We are 180 member team right, going to be around 250 in the coming, say, 3 to 4 months time. But yeah, it's an organization which are looking out for passionate people. So if just at the audience who's there, like, if you are the one, we are open to explore you.
You'll be the chosen one. Now, I'm asking you, Kunal, again this question, because you said that fantastic. Every member is fantastic. Every team is fantastic, and of course, that's testament to the way you guys have built the company. But again, in your journey, getting people for the segment, which was still very recently not a so-called cool and sexy segment, getting some smart people, what did it take? What did it mean? And you didn't have as much funding also, right? Till most recently.
Yeah, I think it's about, selling your vision, right? That's very important. Like, when you have the initial few members, and for startups, like, when you have many initial few members, like, think they do not join only for the money that they earn out that. They actually want to see that, what is the organization going to chase for, right? What is the overall vision? And that is something that is a core skill, core asset that you have in the initial members that you have, right? And many of the times initially where we had our teams, we were not able to pay salaries to them 2 months, 3 months, but it was all about being together, right? No, we were facing challenges and we were trying to take care of their needs to the extent possible. And when in the good times, we were rewarding them back. So it was a journey, like it's always like a sine curve going upward direction. And passionate people always see that, the larger values getting created when they are together.
Yeah.
Also, I would like to add on top of Kunal that the Cropin has able to attract talent from almost all A schools, B schools, top colleges, and we are flooded with resumes, whether it's AI side or tech side. I think people if you look at the top talent, they want to do a meaningful work.
Yeah.
They want to see the impact of their work, right?
Hmm.
Apart from their CTCs and all, which if you have capital, everybody can give that CTC to them. But then, is it what kind of impact they're going to create with the code they're going to ship?
Yeah.
And we have talent from likes of people who have spent time in industry like Motorola or Google's of the world or Microsoft of the world, and we are able to attract those talents, and they're buying into the vision, and they're joining the bandwagon to solve this complex challenges. So I see it happening, which was not true prior to 2014. Even if you had the capital, it was very hard to make them believe there is a term called actech exists, uh, right? And there is a tech which is involved. But I think people are aware, and most of the high cutting edge work is happening in agriculture because you deal with so much data sets, so much variability, that when you are building a model, you will know that you have to build the finest of the finest model, because it's not about solving a problem of logistics or sales where the data is by location, by region, some climate addition, and you get some kind of prediction. There are thousands and thousands of variables can change the yield at your farm. Then how do you account for that? And I think those are very, very challenging problems they are seeing it. And I believe there's at Tropin, there's a lot of room to get more talent, and we are asking and inviting people to come and explore what we do. And I'm sure you will be intrigued by seeing the kind of passion and the technology we work on.
Yeah, and then yeah, what bigger purpose than saying that you're going to be impacting lives of 500 million farmers and making sure people have food and doing it effectively. Wow. To both of you, this question, uh, you raised capital and it was some big announcement, no recent announcement. What was
Correct.
the number? Sorry, I forget the number. What was the number?
Yeah. So we raised 20 mil USD. Uh,
Total, you
in
have
our,
raised 20.
no, total we have raised 33.1 mil till date.
Yeah.
And I think our Series A happened in 2016. Then Series B happened in 2018. And this is the Series C now.
Yeah. So want to
Yeah.
understand what has got investors attracted. Like,
I
some the
think
metrics that you guys chase. Like what's the metrics in your space?
I think we were audited by the private equity guys are coming, right? So they're not no more VCs. Their playbook is very, very different the way they measure you. And I think what they want to see is there's a product out there, and the product is solving the pain of there's a problem statement out there in the market, and there's a product market fit is already there, and they're scaling up. There is a repeat business, and and they're scaling 3x with the client they already have. Their ticket size, I mean, their ARPA is doubling down. So you had X, and now your ARPA went to 2x. Your LTV to CAC is greater than 4, which is very, very healthy sign. Your gross margins are upward of 85. And then with such a small capital, you are in 52 countries. People need mammoth capital to achieve the same scale. And that how the Series B and Series C happened. And they saw the scale, they saw the number, and they also keep telling us that we have met many of the active companies, not only in India but globally, because we are global fund. But I see those metrics. I mean, what you guys are doing, you are scaling, and very few companies we have seen which are on that track. You have
Let's
AI.
say, Krishna,
Yeah,
let's say you are hitting out of the park and consistently, right? And you've
yeah,
done
yeah,
that. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I
No,
think.
sorry, you were saying you have AI, so AI was also a very
So
interesting.
it's not about just we have put something AI on the PPT. Actually, it is working on the ground. You have models which can be patented, and there was 6 months of audit on technology, on AI. There were people from US were using our data sets to build that, see the accuracy what we have done, and very, very credible people, and they signed off. This is a company which is talking sense, which have they have when they say AI, they have AI, they have people behind it who can build it, and they have shown scale. So I think what else you need in your playbook? I mean, we are checking all the boxes. So
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling so proud with this interview and with this story. We keep on talking about made in India, and this is such a phenomenal made right here in India story to both of you. Uh, if I remember, you come from Bihar, right?
Yeah, Jharkhand.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. We are all like,
the
yeah,
same.
Jharkhand
Yeah,
and
Bihar.
and I have had the fortune of seeing last 12 years the entrepreneurs and startups, and still you don't see many entrepreneurs or new age young people getting into startups from that part of the world. And you guys have done it, scaled it, made it big. Want to understand two things from you. One is, as people, as individuals, what's the journey, learning curve which you have made? And second thing, what do you think we need to do to get more youngsters from, uh, Bihar, Jharkhand to get into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I mean, it has been a phenomenal learning, Shraddha. I always keep telling people that, when you hire the first person, you have learned HR because you are sitting on one single table and chair. You're saying there is a billion-dollar company here. Why don't you come and join? And there is nobody else in that room, right? And you make him believe. When you sell your product to your first customer, he trusts your product and he pays for it. I think you learn sales, right? And when you are going to an investor and saying, "Hey, here is the company, and we are going to become 100 million ARR in 5 years, and here is the way we can do that," I think you learn, business, finance, and you are talking numbers, right? So I'm not an MBA grad, and I've not seen balance sheets, and I'm very bad at that. But still, you learn so much on the way. Today, you give me a balance sheet, I can tell you where something is wrong there. I can
Hmm.
tell my CFO or anybody that this numbers doesn't look good to me. But you and those transition would have not been possible if I had what journey I was taking at GE, more technical, more research. I'd
Yeah.
have gone in that direction. I transformed myself from a tech. I was very, very tech oriented, research oriented guy into a sales guy. Right. So I don't no more I do technology, but I talk technology. I led the AI team till last year. But then I was doing the sales and then customer success. I was in the field doing implementation. I think I mean, you roll up your sleeve and do everything in the initial days. And that's a immense learning when you are
Yeah.
building something out there, right? To your next question, what we can do more, I think one of the things which hearing and a lot of people are discussing that now we need to create an ecosystem to go to the second tier.
Yeah.
More entrepreneurs should come from there because then you solve the problem of the job, right? If you build something in Bihar, you build something in Jharkhand, look at the ecosystem, either in processing. And differentiation is not about just technology. There's supply chain, there packaging, there is a brand you can build out of those places, and there's so much can be done. And how do we flow this capital and find those entrepreneurs, give them opportunity and platform to talk about what they can do? I think there is immense potential, and this discussion has already started, Shraddha, in most forum. I recently got an opportunity, and I'm very thankful to for them to choose me in their startup council of the government. And I think this is one of the things I want to really focus on whenever there's going to discussion, that how can we make this ecosystem not concentrated to the Bangalore's or Delhi or
Yeah.
right? How can
Yeah.
we take it to the second tier and third tier, and that will solve the massive challenge of unemployment and creating brand from India which can take global head on.
Yeah, yeah, we have to think about it because all
Yeah.
of us today, we are here in Bangalore, right? And sometimes I also wonder that we could have, like, why are we not there and doing the same thing? I mean,
Yeah.
and then it will take time, but yeah, to both of you, what has money meant? We are in this show, Money Matters. What has money meant to you personally, individually?
For the company, I think money is one of the resources. Uh, uh, there are many resources. This is one of the means. You need to have it to accelerate your growth. Personally, I'm not. I mean, as a person, I can talk for myself. I'm not driven by what my salary, what will be the outcome. And this is how we started, right? We
Yeah,
didn't do that Excel sheet or Pug matrix or fishbone diagram. Then what happens if this doesn't work? We just did it, right?
yeah,
So I think money is a byproduct. If you do something, if you're solving a very complex challenge which can be scaled globally, I think that will come, right? You don't have to worry about that, and if you do it right, that's the caveat. And Yeah, I think a person in India, I don't want to go outside, I want to be in India. And I don't think you need a lot of capital to live a good life, right? So I think I'm not driven by the money. I think I'm more driven by the impact which we can create together.
Yeah,
Now
I
over
know.
to
I'm
you.
just asking you, but I know,
Yeah.
I know. Yes.
Yeah, so money comes chasing you if you're doing the right things. I think you don't have to chase money. I think many of the times people just keep chasing money, right? So I think it's the other way, that you keep focusing on what you're doing, do it right. Money will keep and will keep coming and supporting you at the right time. So I think I also completely agree to what Krishna's point. Having coming from this background, money doesn't really matter, right? No, and sometimes we even ask a question that why do you really need that much salary? What are you going to do with that money? People normally keep it for the future. So our question is, if we are not confident of our present that we can drive our future, then that's something wasted, right? So let's use money effectively for what it should be used for, and not store it for the future time. So I think that's what is what drives me as well personally. But yeah, on the investment side, I think money is obviously very important for business. As Krishna mentioned, like 2016 we raised something, 2018 we raised, 2020 we raised. We have been growing 3x, 2x, 3x during these bad times as well. But it was all about that we invested the right amount of money in the right things at the right time, which also helped us to grow at that level. So I think money is very important, but one should not be restricted towards money. The second thing
Yeah.
is what we also have in the for the money, for most of our employees. I mean, what we have done this time because of the COVID challenges, right? So we didn't cut out the salaries of employees. Most of the organization had to do that because of some reasons. But what we did is we said, okay, we will give you ESOPs, right? And we would give you ESOPs across the board for every single member. The ESOPs will be all given out. And one of the fundamental reasons why we want to do that is because we also wanted to create wealth for our employees, which means that so when we started in 2010, right, the we took money from our friends and families, right, and that money has grown almost 500 times, right? So someone who had given me us 10,000 rupees or 20,000 rupees back then is now 500 times of that. And I'm sure that to all of our employees and colleagues which are working with us right now, if you have a certain X right now, we have a promise that in the next 5 years you can easily see a multiple multiplier. So that will anyways take care of your future needs. You just focus on the present.
Yeah, yeah. That we all can vouch for you guys, because you know, yeah, you've stayed true to your mission, if I may say so, and that as Krishna said, and as you're saying, with that, it has to be a very good outcome. Last, one of the questions I want to ask you is that, and Krishna, to you, Kunal, you guys have not got the attention, if I may say so, as consumer internet companies get, right? Like they're cool, they're talked about, people follow them more. uh, एग्री टेक अभी तक मतलब हॉट नहीं था, अभी अभी तो बहुत हॉट हो जा रहा है, and that's why I'm also now talking to you. I talked to you in 2010 also. Is do you feel, do you think about it? Do you guys, have you guys over the years discussed about it, think about the
You know,
design?
we see it very differently, Shraddha. Do you want to be in a media or do you want to be discussed in the CEO boardroom? I think we
Hmm.
want to get discussed in the CEO boardroom, and we have done that. I mean, we have attention of almost all the globally. We are in all the forums where and which is, I mean, if you recently saw the CEO of Bayers announced that Cropin is going to be the partner to make the Europe carbon neutral in the
Wow.
World Economic Forum. I don't think consumer internet will get that kind of focus. So I say we had all the cameras, but the right cameras. We don't want to be just be in the media talking about to be celebrating, and that's a good thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I think we had our own share of focus and light, not only in India but globally, in the forums which are most respected, in the boardrooms which are most celebrated across in those large corporates, and the investors who are looking at Cropin. I mean, who wants to invest in ag, they're looking at Cropin and they want to talk to us. They want to understand what we are doing. So I think we have our own share of attention. And you rightly said, there was a consumer internet, there was a fintech. I think next decade is a tech because we all realize that you need food and things need to change here. And I think the media attention will also, this sector will also have a fair amount of share going forward. We don't say that we didn't get attention, but yes, it's not like the likes of consumer internet, because we saw billions of dollars pouring into it,
Yeah.
and that has its own charm, correct? And something has been built out of India, and we are so proud of it. And I think AgTech is going to be the next.
Yeah. Yeah, we should see you being the first unicorn in this place, in this sector, in the coming year, maybe. Uh,
Very
last
humble, Shraddha, but let's see. Let's see.
then last before I let you go, uh, one thing, if you would, from your own playbook or maybe from your own personal life journey book, if you had to say that one thing you'd like to tell all entrepreneurs for whom it's not that, success is not overnight and things happen, takes time, what would you say from your own journey?
I think from the journey that I have traversed in this last 10 years, I think it's a journey of continuous learning, right? So rather than talking, it should be more about listening, because once you are in the industry, this industry has already experienced it for the last 100 years or more, right? And when they talk the language of the problems and what they have faced, right? And if you keep listening to what is happening around you, observing that, that is what gives you that insight to actually solve something that is really a problem for that particular industry. I think that has been our culture, right? Because I mean, from being not from the agriculture sector to solve a real fundamental problem and really doing it really really well, right? It required us to really understand and be the DNA of that particular sector, right? So I think that continuous hearing, learning from the industry really helped us. And I think one of my fundamental thing that I have done is really to be standing behind our customers, understanding what are their pain problems, listening that, translating that into a product and solution, and taking it back so that really could transform that. And the second thing that has been like, I think is also the change that we have brought in. Like, something that has worked, we really push it forward. Even if the customer is saying that no, this is something that they can take in the second phase, we say, well, let's start with the phase one, because you can really see that impact coming in very very shortly, right? So some of our good programs like climate smart agriculture projects, some of the advisories that we do, some of the linkage services that we do, integration to like our smart risk product, which is our AI platform. So customers would say, okay, let me wait for some more time to see that. And we're saying, oh, okay, you try it out for no cost and cost on our side so that you can experience and see that benefit. So we go also overboard with our customers to get them see that experience to can actually impact the business. So I think these are the two fundamental things that is from my side that I've seen as a journey.
Yeah, well, adding to Kunal, I think if you are solving a real big problem statement and complex problem statement, and you believe that need to be solved because that's out there, I think what you need is a perseverance. You need to follow your dream because somebody is going to solve it, because that's a real problem out there. And it can be solved in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, but you have to be out there. You need to believe in the story you are building. And I think, the rest of the resources will follow on, whether it's a capital, people, because if that's a problem, people will relate to it. If that's a big enough problem which people want or industry want to solve, there will be capital available for that. And I think you need to build that story out there. Uh, don't give up too early. I think you need to give a fair share of your time and hard work to see it realizing. I think that will be my message to the entrepreneurs who are starting out or who are in that journey. I mean, this is my learning, and I'm not the guy, I'm not the expert out there, but yeah, this is what I say.
Yeah, but you have made the journey, and what a remarkable journey, because staying, you're in the playground. You're in the playground. You've stayed put in the playground for the last 10 years, and not maybe started as an opening batsman, but did everything possible and stayed. And today it is for the country and it is for everyone to see. That staying true to your course, creating impact, building great product, and being so crazily passionate about what you're doing leads to this kind of an outcome, phenomenal outcome. Yeah, very proud of both of you. Thank you so much. Thank you.